Morning, everyone. My name is Gareth. I'm from the Cyber Command Department at KHIPU. That's the department that is responsible for our SOC service, our MDR services, our blue team, our red team, our DevSecOps team, and so on. So I'm here this morning to talk to you about a SOC journey, right? And if we're talking about building a resilient SOC, that is most definitely a journey. So it's not something that a lot of institutions globally can implement, immediately or quickly at all. It is a journey. You start somewhere and you've got a goal, an end goal, which is a lot of the time years in the future. And what we've done over the years at KHIPU is that we work with our customers anyway, on a journey, right? We understand that the budgets aren't there and things like that, and you can't get that Rolls-Royce security servicing from day one, right? So we walk with our customers on a journey. What we're doing now is we're formalizing that journey, and we tying that to a SOC, right? At the end of this journey, in theory, you should be able to sort of take over your own SOC operations and so on, right? So our journey, the journey that I want to talk to you about today, really is made up of these sections over here. You've got foundational controls. Yep, you've got operational integration, behavioral defense, enhanced security, and autonomous SOC. The end goal over there with autonomous SOC is basically, every alert source that you might have being ingested into a central repository. There's AI, machine learning, threat intel added to that telemetry, all in one place, all in a single pane of glass. Enhanced red services like dark web monitoring and vulnerability scanning and pen testing and things like that as part of the service from the same service provider, one SLA, one contract, and all of that. But there's a process to get there, right? If we look at the first step over there, which is foundational controls, we deal with a whole bunch of different types of customers, different verticals, and so on. Some have got IT departments, some have got their own SOC analysts. Some don't even have a firewall, or some have got a very, very lightweight firewall, and they don't have an EDR technology on the endpoint. They might have a legacy-based antivirus. But the problems that these institutions will face is similar across the board, right? Whether you're a law firm or a college, a tertiary education, a university, public university, private college, financial institution, right? The bad guys out there don't stop, after 5:30. They don't give us a break on a bank holiday. So the problems that these types of customers face with, no continuous 24/7 threat monitoring, the alerting isn't there. There's a whole bunch of noise. All of these technology pieces that we implement nowadays are all very, very good at alerting and logging things and so on. And there's an absolute mountain, a tidal wave, a deluge of alerts, coming our way. And it's very, very difficult to figure out what it is that we need to be looking at, right? Especially with a lack of budget and therefore a lack of human resource and so on. So we don't have the people and we don't have the time to be looking at every single thing that our existing technologies are alerting for us. So, we can help these types of customers before even a SOC discussion, right? Things like managed firewalls, managed endpoint protection, EDR and XDRs, and so on. Vulnerability scanning, phishing awareness and simulation campaigns, dark web monitoring, pen testing, those types of things, with the idea of the next step then being an introduction into some sort of a SOC or managed detection and response service. If we move on from that, and if your institution maybe fits into this category, all of, I was going to say a lot, but it's not a lot. It's all of our customers and prospects and so on have got existing infrastructure, existing investments that they've already made. One of the important goals that we had when we created our first SOC and MDR services was to try and leverage as much existing investments that our customers had as we could, right? We can't rely solely on a customer's existing investments, because we do need access to security telemetry. That security telemetry needs to be in a certain data lake that we can access, that our automation tool sets can access, that API, we can connect to it via API and so on. It needs to be somewhere where our customers can access that data. Some of our customers have got their own skill and they're reporting and doing Power BI and fancy things like that. But for the most part, we try and leverage as much existing investment that we can. This stage over here, which we like to call analyst in a box, is really, it's a SOC service, it's an MDR service, an overlay service that is dependent on your environment, your endpoint protection technology and your SIEM environment. It's usually Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or Microsoft Sentinel. But what we're able to do is provide you an MDR service, a 24/7 alerting and incident response, automation and all of that, incident response, 24/7 on or leveraging your existing technology when it comes to Microsoft Defender for Endpoints and Sentinel and other third-party EDRs. You know, they're pretty much similar. All the ones in the top right-hand corner of Gartner at least are quite similar. So. And this is a lot of customers' sort of entry into their SOC journeys to say, we've already spent a whole bunch of money on XYZ, and now what we need is we need an overlay SOC service or MDR service to then use that technology to then provide that service to you. So we're able to, to do that as well. You can see there that there's a whole bunch of pre-approved, and we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. So there's a lot of pre-built security process automation or playbooks that we can leverage. And a lot of it is based off of the Microsoft stack. So that is a very, very good start for for a lot of institutions into their SOC journey. If we move on from that, right, you've now got the foundational controls, you've got maybe the multi-factor authentication, you've got the next generation firewalls, you've got maybe 82.1x or radius on wired and wireless networking, and you've got those fundamental security. You're doing phishing awareness campaigns, you're scanning for vulnerabilities. Hopefully we're acting on the results of those vulnerability scans, because that's quite difficult. But then we sort of move on to a SOC service, and we're not changing or adding any technology. It's an overlay service. And then we get to a point where we're going, okay, well, now we need to enhance what we're seeing. We either need to broaden the scope of what the SOC can see, or we need to focus on certain parts of the network, right? So if we had analyst in a box, the previous step, now we've got SOC in a box. So SOC in a box is slightly different, where what we now do is we recommend that we enhance the security level on a certain part of your network. So a lot of customers will start with their crown jewels, their server estate, and maybe some VRPs, right? So their server estate and their finance server, HR server, their VM infrastructure and things like that. And that's on-site and in the cloud, right? It's the same sort of endpoint protection technology that we can deploy in both. And what we're doing there is we're enhancing the security on the important part of your network. We're not ignoring the other part of your network, but we're enhancing the security and making that sort of ring fencing, that crown jewels in this stage of the of the journey. We're still ingesting security telemetry from the likes of Defender for Endpoints and reacting on detections that have been hit in Sentinel and things like that. We are adding to that now. It's not a replacement just yet. We are recently NCSC accredited as well, which is quite nice. So you can be assured that all of our processes and our technology is all sort of assured and stamped and approved by the National Cybersecurity Centre within the UK. So if I move on from there, just quickly, when it comes to SOC in a box, right, it's our XMDR service, which is primarily focused on the endpoint, right? Again, those other log sources, we're still able to ingest those log sources. This step of the process is to focus on the endpoint. The reason why we want to deploy Cortex XDR or that XMDR service on the crown jewels there is the machine learning, it's the AI capabilities, it's the slightly elevated security posture over there. And what we want to do is the main goal is to replace EDRs with XDRs. Or obviously we want to replace antivirus with EDR, going back maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago and so on. But what we need now is we need XDR. So we need that technology to look at behaviors, not just known virus signatures and so on. We need not only IOCs in terms of indicators of compromise, but also behavioral indicators of compromise. And we need to be able to alert to that. If a Word document is trying to issue a command on a PowerShell to get out to the internet or something like that, it's technically possible on a Windows environment, but it's not something that really should be happening. That should be an anomaly. we need to be alerted to that. We need to be and quickly alerted to that. So time is of the essence right now. XMDR starts with up to 200 endpoints or 200 endpoints, and we can grow from there. So it really is just your crown jewels there. We're not asking our customers to go and deploy thousands of agents just so we can get sort of alerting service going, right? It's a full SOC MDR service, 24/7 monitoring, alerting, and incident response, including remedial actions, which can be automated or semi-automated, which I'll talk through in a few slides' time. Now that we are NCSE accredited, well, we've always been aligned to NCSE, but now with the official badge, what we're able to do is we're able to get a lot of external threat intel and alerting from the UK government through the National Cybersecurity Centre to ourselves, and then from ourselves onto our customers. We share, as a big goal within our SOC and our MDR teams, is to share threat intel. That whole notion of a community-driven approach to security and shared threat intel is very important to us. And we will learn from a customer. We will ingest threat intel from paid-for enterprise-class threat intel vendors, which KHIPU pays for, free open source feeds and so on, a whole bunch of different sources into a central repository, so all of our customers can benefit from that, basically a massive list of known IOCs and BIOCs. So if we move on a little bit from there, right, you have now got the foundational controls, you've got the MDR service on your existing technology. Maybe we've uplifted the security posture on your crown jewels with the Cortex XDR environment, and we're having a look at all of that right now. We're looking at cloud, we're looking at telemetry from the cloud, from the endpoint. Now we need to start thinking about the network, right? So network traffic, threat logs from your firewall, that type of thing. Not only that, but then also enhancing that MDR service with other red type services. We call them red services, things like dark web monitoring and vulnerability scanning and things. All of these things enhance an MDR service. If we are able to tell what accounts from one of our customers that have been leaked on the dark web and react upon those, that is a very, very, very powerful earlier warning system that the bad guys out there won't be able to then leverage, right? If we're able to see that Gareth's account was leaked a week ago, but I changed my password 2 days ago, right? That means that I'm now safe from that. And that's where this sort of step comes into is a lot more log correlation, as opposed to focusing on endpoint, maybe focus on the firewall, focus on the service. What we need to focus on over here is ingesting not only endpoint related logs from your network or cloud and so on, but then also traffic logs, firewall threat logs, DHCP logs, Windows event logs, sysmon, things like that, to give us a much better outlook on what's happening on the network. It makes the lives of a SOC analyst a lot easier as well to go and investigate these things. We need access to this type of telemetry. Automation comes in over here. So we focus heavily on automation. That's for ourselves to run the SOC service, but then also for our customers to mitigate breaches. And to remediate devices, and to scan and search for files, and to destroy those files if they're malicious. And I'll in a few minutes' time, I'll go through a proper incident for you guys as well. But when it comes to automation, again, we've got 5 or 6 years worth of automations that we've built for ourselves and customers that really do uplift your security posture and allows your staff to do what they need to do, instead of trying to spend hours trying to figure out what they need to look at and what they don't need to look at, right? So we can automate things like impossible traveler response, or a malware response is probably a nice one, a ransomware type of thing, right? If that's a file-based attack, we can zip that file up, which is in your estate. We can bring it over to the KHIPU SOC, and we can send it up into a sandbox. We can detonate that. We can get a verdict as to whether that file is malicious or not. Maybe it's not a file, maybe it's a URL or an IP address. We can check those things against threat intel, and that is all playbook-driven remedial automation, right? So it happens all the time, every time, and it happens very quickly. So we're not waiting for a human to receive an incident via email to go, okay, that's a malware incident. Its location is a VIP server within a customer environment. It's the vice chancellor, and its categories malware, and its severity is critical. Therefore, I'm going to issue a playbook. Our XOR system, our Cortex XOR system, which KHIPU's invested into, is waiting for that telemetry to come in, and we've got hundreds of playbooks there waiting to be automatically triggered. And I'll show you that again in a few minutes as well. So the capabilities, right, of the automation is to speed things along and to take care of a lot of the time-consuming mundane tasks. An example of that is that our monthly reporting that goes to our customers as part of the MDR service is about 99% automated. So we don't have to rely on a human sitting there writing Word documents all day or all week or all month, as we grow. These things are automated. We leverage Power BI. We've got data lakes, which we build, and we pull those reports off nice and quick and nice and automated. And we can facilitate the same thing within our customer environments. Our customers don't always only want to automate security processes. A lot of customers leverage us, and we consult. And one we've done recently is a starters and leavers playbook for an HR department, right? So instead of going to create somebody's account over 15 different platforms and so on, and different passwords, and it takes a couple of hours or a couple of days for a help desk to go and do that, we can playbook that. So it's a click of the button, or it's automated, and all of those things can then happen in the background. And then when we talk about autonomous SOC, or the end goal, that is really, it's a next generation AI-powered automated SOC and MDR service, basically, right? When we're looking at XDR, we're looking at SOAR, we're looking at attack surface management, we're looking at threat intelligence, we're looking at SIEM capabilities, we're looking at dark web monitoring, we're looking at business email compromise, we're looking at data leak prevention, all in a single platform, a single pane of glass. Our preference would be a Cortex XIM type of a state, where a lot of the tasks that a SOC analyst would do are automated, right? So we're able to provide our customers this type of tool sets, relatively easy and quickly. So although the journey isn't always quick, there's time and there's process and so on, that our customers need to get to their end goal. And a lot of the time we don't even get to the end goal, because we can decide what we want to do now in 5 years' time, and then we can change our minds next year because technology's changed, budgets have changed, and so on and so forth. So this journey is not a set in stone thing. Every single one of our customers is on their own journey, if you like. This is a framework, this is a guide, and this is what we've sort of learned over the last 4 or 5 years, providing SOC services to our customers, is that this fits into a lot of our customers' sort of roadmap and their abilities in terms of budgets and so on. We have quite a few of these types of services or stages of the SOC service within the college network within the UK, as you can see over there. SOC-in-a-BOX is extremely popular over there. It's not based off of a SIEM technology only. Therefore, it's not a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month baselining period, right? Our onboarding period for SOC-in-a-BOX is max 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, you will be getting a SOC service, an MDR service with enterprise class, top right-hand corner of Gartner Magic Quadrant endpoint protection, on site, on servers, on hosts, laptops and PCs and labs and so on, as well as in the cloud as well. And there's some of the customers that leverage the service already. We've got some, Greg is going to go through some case studies and some testimonials a little bit later. But there's something there from Rob Morton from Tech Partnership, one of our first customers actually, and still a very important customer today. Same as Barton Peveril, Charlie Davis over there. There is what we call a community-driven approach to security, and I'll go through an incident and explain that a little bit more. But again, we share threat intel as much as we can, and we ingest threat intel from as many different places as we can. So we treat every one of our customers as another threat intel feed. So if we found a malicious artifact at customer A, we are going to use that. We're not going to share the fact that it's customer A or an IP address or a host name or a URL, a domain related to that customer at all, but it's the IOCs, it's the malicious indicators of compromise and behavioral indicators of compromise that we will then use and then scan all of our other customers automatically And if any remnants or any evidence of that IOC is found at other customers, an incident is raised automatically as close to immediately as possible, and a SOC analyst assigned and an investigation done. Yeah. So that's elevating your security there. It's a very, very robust way of sort of working as a team. You know, the bad guys out there on the internet all work together. We need to work together to safeguard our environments. I'm just going to quickly pivot to another presentation quickly. Greg, do you know how much time I've got left? I didn't click the...
Yeah, just a couple of minutes, if you wouldn't mind, okay. Gareth. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'll be quick, 5 minutes or so. So I'll try to be quicker. Can you see that, Greg? Okay, cool. So this is an example of a ransom incident. Okay, so it's a fancy one, it's an important one, it was a stressful one for ourselves and our customers and so on. This doesn't happen every day. You know, we get impossible travel and account compromise and risky sign-ins and brute force attacks, password sprays, things like that, daily basis. Something like this, it does happen, right? But obviously not an everyday thing, thankfully. But I just want to draw your attention to the timeline over here. So if you look at an incident start, and when I say incident start, that means that there's something malicious been happening on our customer's network, and incident start is when KHIPU is aware of that, okay? And I want to just draw your attention to how quickly things can happen. So 32 minutes from initial compromise to containment, okay? So containment means so malicious activities, initial compromise, investigation done, a remedial action recommended to a customer, approved, and then executed, all in 32 minutes. The only way that we can do that is because we leverage enterprise class technology, our people and our processes, as well as automation and threat intel. Yeah. If we relied fully on a human to do this, 32 minutes would turn into 3 weeks very, very easily. So you can see there as well. So 41 minutes from containment to business as usual, right? So once we contain a threat, it gives us time, right? If we are 100% sure that whatever malicious is happening on a network is contained, it gives us time then to go and do the scans and do the searches, make sure the spread of that malicious activity. So before the incident was raised, right, there's malicious activity happening on a network. This should be quite worrying, really. So within 14 minutes, a malicious file was downloaded. And then in this case, at least, the customer's firewall kicked into action, which is very, very good. You know, if this malicious traffic was not synced on the firewall, then this breach probably would have gone further. I'm not saying it would have executed or it would have gone through the entire kill chain, but it definitely would have executed. Okay. So the time taken for malicious intent to take effect from entering the network, if you like, to malicious intent, 32 minutes. So very, very quick nowadays. When KHIPU got involved, so you can see that at the same time, 1521, right? It's a technology piece, an XDR technology alerting to something that's happening on the network, and an incident is raised. You can see over there that a breach occurs. And what's that? Half an hour later, breach mitigated. So there's a lot that goes into that 30 minutes or so, right? Controls added, IOCs added, shared, blocked, cleanup started. We check the cleanup, make sure over and over and over again that there's no malicious activity, or the IOCs are being blocked and the URLs are being blocked on the file, or whatever it may be, and then back to business as usual over there. So when it comes to ransomware, 1 hour 29 minutes for the entire incident, including the write-up, the report, the recommendation back to the customer, and the remedial action, which is pretty good. Incident received in Cortex XOR. Cortex XOR for ourselves underpins everything that happens within the SOC. Whether the alert comes from customer A, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or customer B, Checkpoint Firewall, it all gets normalized and managed by XOR. This is where the KHIPU SOC and our customers will see an incident being raised. Over there, normalizes and manages everything, and the data is pulled in via the alert source, which in this case was Cortex XOR and endpoint technology. Our customers and our SOC analysts have access to the technology, right? Obviously, our SOC analysts need access, but our customers can request access as well. and we use the technology to do the investigation, right? AI suggestions over there. This is what happened. This is what we recommend from an AI point of view. Causality change, evidence preservation, timelines. You can see over here that we get a full user view, a full asset view. The IP address and MAC addresses and host names and usernames are all appended to this incident as we go through from open to close, as well as timelines and grouping of alerts into incidents. I don't know if you can see there, 28 issues, a little bit small over there, but 28 alerts came through, and the technology has grouped that into an incident for us because they relate to each other. We didn't have to rely on a human to do that. So about 9 minutes after the investigation, right, endpoint isolated and a file integrity check was completed. Not started, completed. So within 9 minutes, we had isolated a number of hosts with showing the malicious behavior. We had grabbed the files from our customer's estate, zipped them up automatically, again using technology, brought them into the SOC, and then we detonate them in sandboxes and things like Wildfire and Mandiant and Google Threat Intelligence and SOC Radar and things like that. So we are 100% sure that something unknown is either malicious or not. So you can see there. So about 8 minutes after that, this is what the customer might see, right? This is quite an in-depth one, right? But a lot of IOCs and so on. So if the malicious traffic is trying to get out to a URL, an IP address, it's maybe the malicious actor is a file, so you've got a hash of that file and so on. We alert to all of that and we store all of that. We add those IOCs to our customer's firewall, our customer's endpoint protection, and we can do that automatically via playbook-driven automation as well. What we also do is we take all of these IOCs. You can see there a file hash over there. Yeah, we can see some IP addresses and some and so on. All of this gets added to an internal MISP estate, malware information sharing platform, that we use then to share threat intel and new indicators of compromise with all of our customers. Yeah, you can see there incident details, indicators of compromise. Once we know exactly what's happening, we can then go and clean up those malicious files. So we use technology again to search and destroy files. We can type in a hash and we can say search across the estate. Right, that can be fully automated as well, or that is fully automated within our service as well. So we can very, very quickly identify and alert our customers to the spread of malicious activity as well. You can see over there. The environment scanned, just to make sure we do this we do this a number of times before the closure of an incident to make 100% sure. And this is all process driven, by the way. It's not a SOC analyst thinking, oh, I might do another search. It's all sectioned out in process, which is all aligned to NCSC. Like I mentioned earlier. And then the endpoint so this is 7 minutes after that, endpoint removed from isolation because we are now sure that there is no other malicious intent, no other malicious traffic. We've mitigated the incident, we've isolated the incident, and we've cleaned that host up, ready for business as usual. Yeah. You can see something like this would be, 14 minutes later. So this took a SOC analyst a couple of minutes here to put an evidence piece together. This is what happened, Mr. Customer. Sorry, I had to redact a few things over there, but this is what happened. This is the evidence. This is what we recommend, and we are now going to close this ticket now because we have now mitigated that breach or that incident. Again, once that is closed, that whole notion of improvement and making sure every incident that we investigate and we mitigate, it adds to the maturity of our SOC service and therefore our customer's SOC service as well. So we ingest all of that threat intel into our internal MISP estate, malware information sharing platform, and then automatically scan all of our customers when a new entry is added to MISP. And if an artifact is found of that scan, an incident created, SOC analyst assigned, and an investigation done, which is a very, very quick way to identify the spread of malicious intent, especially if it's in a certain vertical, which happens a lot of the time. Maybe medical might be attacked, this month, and education another month, and so on. So yes, that's all I have to say today. I went through the journey. Yeah, the journey is different for everybody. It's a guide, it's a framework, as well as an example of an incident there. So thank you, Greg. I'll hand back over to you if there's no questions, at least.
Excellent, thanks, Gareth. No, that was really, really good, really in depth. I think I'll save questions to the end, so I'll sort of move on to my session with Chris, and then we'll loop back around. So no, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So I'm going to invite Chris up onto the stage. Chris, if you just turn your camera and mic on. There he is. The system works. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, very well, thank you. You?
Good, very good. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time as always. As I said at the top of the session, Chris is the Vice Principal for Business Services at Barton Peveril. And I always enjoy getting him on to these sessions because I think the sort of non-technical decision-making view is always really interesting to have on these very otherwise quite technical sessions. So, you know, Barton obviously has done a huge amount with KHIPU and the SOC being an integral part of your journey with us thus far. And I wanted to start by just asking, you know, as a non-technical sort of leader within the college, within the organization, when Charlie, who we'll speak to in a minute, as an IT manager came to you with these concerns around 24/7 security, you know, what was your initial reaction as someone maybe who doesn't think about this 24/7?
Yeah, and look, one of the challenges when you're a senior leader is all of your teams come to you with the current pressure for improvement. And Charlie's no different. So when he came to me, he had his concerns about cyber security. Now, we were fortunate at the time that a local college had been through a similar instance of an attack. So we'd had them present to us on the process they went through and what that felt like as an experience for them, which, yeah, at the time kind of scared us a little bit as a college. Secondly, you only had to turn on the TV to see the amount of online attacks that were occurring around society. So my question was very much around, what does it give us we don't currently have? Mm-hmm. At the time, we were exploring suggestions like turning certain servers off out of hours. So manual solutions, essentially, to try to mitigate or limit attacks. So Charlie came to us with a far more efficient solution around innovation. So when he came to me, my initial reaction was, what's it going to cost me?
Yeah, sure. Always.
Yeah, so I mean, I think anything more expensive than £5,000 is a challenge for me. Yeah, he knows that, so he managed my expectations. He wouldn't be anywhere near that figure. But when you start to look at the value for money,
yeah,
that's the changer.
You lead me on to another question, which is around, and I think it's something that you and I have discussed before offline, which is the cost of recovery, which I know you're very, very aware of.
Yeah, so the cost of recovery, we're told can lead up to 2 million. But actually, look, forget the financial cost of recovery. Let's look at the reputational damage that could be caused, the impact to learning. And I think sometimes education institutions, we classify ourselves differently to the commercial sector. We're still a target, but we kind of sometimes think less of a target, perhaps. But also, we're not thinking operationally what it might mean. If our systems go down, we move into a digital society where even in the classroom, so much is done online, so much is accessed online. Absolutely. If your systems and network are down, what does that mean for the student experience? What does that mean for teaching and learning, ultimately for results? How does it look in the media? Education is a choice now. We don't go to the institution at the end of our road anymore. People are willing to travel. So, being known for being resilient or innovative and that sort of thing in the field of technology is important to us reputationally.
Indeed. Yeah. And also, I think another thing that I know about your journey, which I think is also important in terms of the business case, is I know you were already fairly early on into another contract, which obviously, again, so when you think about the business case, was quite significant, I think.
Yeah, so we were in another antivirus contract where we were looking to move to you, but look, the numbers stacked up. If I'm really honest, that was the first thing. With the costs over 3 years, the 2.5 that we had remaining with KHIPU versus the other provider, the continuity of service, the integration of the knock and the SOC with the co-managed system, and sometimes I think it's very hard to put a financial number on assurance. And ultimately, what we wanted was that assurance, and that's what we've got as a consequence of the relationship with KHIPU and the purchase of the knock and the SOC with the co-managed system.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that word relationship, and I think I'll probably get into it with Charlie, but obviously I know that's something that's been really important to both of you in terms of not just having a provider, but someone who you are really in a partnership with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to work with somebody as good as Charlie, and I've learned a lot from him, and hopefully he's learned a little bit from me. One of the things that we share as a mutual value is we're looking for partnerships with providers. Too much in education is transactional. What we wanted was an opportunity to work with an organisation like KHIPU that would help us be innovative for the sector, to be safe, to be secure, to be prepared. In exchange, we support KHIPU on events like this, and looking for areas of development. So that partnership is essential. We're really lucky. Everyone at KHIPU, from yourself, Greg, to Chloe, Jade, Dave, our network, our sort of main day-to-day contact. You're all fantastic people that have gone out of their way to support Barton on our journey, and it's never been about the money. That's how I've been made to feel as the customer. Jade, yourselves, you're all really good. When the numbers come up, you appreciate education isn't as affluent perhaps as the commercial sector. So long as it's value for both sides, it's been explored, and I think that partnership is critical to sustaining good relationships and now good systems.
Amazing. No, thank you. So just two more questions actually. So I had one around just how the infrastructure conversation continues to evolve at Barton. I know you're obviously you might want to talk about your AI sort of status and Google status, and how that kind of continues to become a conversation both ways. So what you're doing for students, but what you're doing at the back end to make sure it all runs properly and is safe, is protected.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the role of technology in education has grown from systems in the background to essential parts of the delivery, and we really embrace that. So aggressively migrated all of our on-premises servers into the cloud platforms, and that the protection that we get through the NOC and the SOC supports that. Then we've been early adopters of artificial intelligence. Others can make judgments on how good we've been, but we've adopted that tech, and by being based in the cloud, by using cloud-based products, we've been able to develop some really good tools that support teaching, learning, and business operations. And we're now in the process of creating a data lake and using data visualization dashboards with natural language query to interrogate data. All of that is only enabled by having secure networks, having confidence and resilient systems and processes in place to ensure that they're not going to be compromised. Without assurance of continuity of service, we'd have a challenge. Yeah. So that relationship with KHIPU has given us the assurance we needed.
Indeed, amazing. So, interestingly, one of the poll questions was, how would you describe your senior leadership's understanding of your current cyber risk, which aligns to my question, which I often ask to you, which is what advice you'd give to other non-technical leaders, about engaging with their IT teams, and vice versa, how we would advise IT teams to go to non-technical individuals and explain the risk in a way that will help them understand the investment. Yeah. And I'll just give you a quick overview. So the poll actually is 85% on the fully aligned. So that's a good sign, right? Is that non-technical individuals are understanding where we're at.
Yeah, I think, look, Jaguar Land Rover, Harrods, Marks and Spencers, all big victims of cyber attacks. We've seen a lot in the NHS. So cybersecurity is something that, or the risks associated, has been prevalent over the last couple of years. But I think leaders are far more aware that our systems are fragile and volatile. The Windows refresh caused chaos in the education sector because so many institutions haven't invested in their capital hardware. We can't have systems that are adopting artificial intelligence or assessing students if they don't operate effectively and efficiently. So the advice I'd always give to the IT teams is, don't just come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution and a cost. And the bit that sells it is the cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
And if they don't listen, then just switch an essential system off for a day and watch how quickly
everyone panics. I mean, it would be remiss of me though not to mention that actually two of individuals who've completed the poll have said. So one said that senior leadership only take note if it checks a DFE/audit box. And one said that cyber is still seen as a technical problem, not a business problem. So it's not a full, a clean sweep. And do you have any reaction to that?
it's a sales pitch. Look, too much in education, we react to the DFE or Ofsted. Well, try getting outstanding Ofsted grade if your systems don't work when they arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the sales pitch. I think sometimes the IT teams, when they present to me in the past, haven't been clear enough about the risks and the severity without exaggerating. You know, if Charlie came to me and goes, there's a 90% chance our systems go down, I go, well, they've never gone down before, so why? What you know? But if he comes to me and says, do you realise that we are vulnerable here? And I think it's exploring and highlighting those vulnerabilities. Charlie and his team have been fantastic at talking to me about risk, mitigation, and probability.
Yeah.
And it's just talking in layman terms, talking simple terms, be clear without exaggerating. And ultimately, leaders should listen. If they don't, what I would say, you can only go so far.
Yeah.
There's something quite rewarding about getting to say, I told you so.
Yeah, indeed. That's amazing. Maybe we've had one question from Peter, actually, which might be one for you and Charlie, maybe. But how long did it take from start to full implementation of the SOC?
So I was really fortunate to have a wonderful technical team below me. So the migration to the cloud felt instantaneous, and so did the adoption of the NOC and the SOC. Yeah. Charlie will give you the truth. To me, it was seamless, it was painless, and it was quick. It felt like a week to me. I don't know if I'm maybe delusional, but it was very quick in adoption. I also understand that the vast majority of the legwork was done by KHIPU.
Yeah.
So that actually, when you've got a lean team, which I do have, I know Will's on this call, that I have a lean team, they work very hard. Yeah. Being able to outsource some of that and rely on the partners is really, really valid.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's been, as always, really insightful. Thank you very much, Chris. I'm going to make Charlie a speaker, and we'll bring him up. And you can, I guess you can sit down on stage. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, buddy. Morning, Charlie.
Good morning.
Thanks again, mate. Thanks for joining us. Again, I'll reintroduce you just in case people didn't know who you are. But so IT manager at Barton Peveril. We deal with Charlie a lot. We have that partnership relationship word always pops up. You know, we've built an IT suite down at Barton, which I should say, anyone on the call, you know, you are welcome to go down and be shown around by Charlie. So that's, you know, always an open. Please speak to your account manager if you'd like to do that. I'll start off by actually, let's carry on with that question, I suppose, that Peter posed, which was around the onboarding, because you might have a different answer to Chris.
Yeah, it was a very seamless integration, and the project management team that planned the whole delivery were fantastic. So, you know, we did. It was over 3 weeks of deployment, and after that it goes into a learning phase of watching the activity on the network. Obviously, what's the normal standard? But we were literally up and running within a month. We were fully being monitored by the SOC. But any queries with the deployment, it was just a quick Teams chat to the deployment team. Resolved very, very quickly. So it was a very good.
Amazing. Great. So I'll jump into my questions. The first one was just around the decision-making process, which obviously I covered with Chris a little bit. How did you approach the evaluation of the SOC service, and what were your drivers?
Yeah, so obviously after a local college that were compromised and they presented to us, we knew we needed to up our game a bit. And with just an antivirus solution in place that was in contract as well, we spoke to them as a current provider, and obviously yourselves, saying we're looking for full-blown SOC here. We obviously had the cases presented to us, and the bits that really sold it were KHIPU are only 45 minutes away from us. I met the SOC team in person and had lots of discussions as well. So they really understood what we had, what we had, how we work, and obviously KHIPU also support us with our firewalls. So having that seamless integration to the SOC was valuable.
Yes, yeah, indeed. So in terms of, I think you mentioned it there with the sort of locality or the proximity, but was anything about the SOC that made it stand out kind of technically? Again, you might want to talk about that, the antivirus sort of maybe predicament that you maybe were in initially, and sort of like what drove those commercial decisions.
Yeah, so like I said, we were about 6 months into a 3-year agreement with our current antivirus solution, and the proposed cost for uplifting our existing antivirus compared to SOC-in-a-BOX, were very, very competitive. So it was actually cheaper to go for a full-blown SOC and replace the whole solution, which was, eye-opening.
Yeah, indeed. I wanted to get into the sort of the on the ground at the coalface type scenario. So just wondering if there's any wins or incidents that you could that since having the SOC you've sort of noticed, and that it gave that sort of real dose of reality of, wow, if we didn't have this, that would have gone unchecked, or we may have missed that.
Yeah, I think within the first few weeks, the visibility we were getting from the entire network was fantastic. And the first alert that felt real was we had an alert that a device was talking to a Chinese IP address, and this is not normal activity. And obviously it gave us who the user was, what machine they were on, what time it was. So we went out and had a look, and it was just a presentation remote from Amazon. As soon as they plugged it in, it was trying to communicate to a Chinese IP address.
Yes.
That we would never have known that without this.
Yeah, and in terms of that risk factor to you, I guess that's something that you would is quite scary.
Yes, and the fact that we could block that IP as well directly via the SOC service, rather than me having to diagnose, find it, implement the change, etc.
Yeah. In terms of what I've just discussed with Chris around your view on taking, your needs and requirements to sort of non-technical decision makers, like, how did you feel like you needed to? I know you've got a good relationship with Chris, but how did you feel like you needed to communicate those requirements, in a way that is going to get traction?
I think the biggest thing is be honest, be brutally honest with the risks. And exactly like Chris said, don't just go with a problem. It's, look, this is the risk. This is what we could be doing. And this is why. So it was quite a lengthy document I proposed to Chris and SLT, explaining exactly where we are now and what all those risks were, and just highlighting it literally down to students, classrooms. Will we open tomorrow if we had an attack? Things like that. Yeah.
Well, one of the pre-event sort of questions that we asked all of our attendees was what they'd like to know sort of more about, and one of the main ones was understanding more about managing unique risks in large-scale student staff environments. So, obviously, again, that's something that you're dealing with every day. Is there something you can sort of expand upon in that, like what unique risks as you see them, and again, we could talk about Barton and what you guys are doing with AI and bringing on new technologies. I guess that with that comes new risk.
Yeah, I mean, with 5,000 students, 16 to 18, they're inquisitive. They like to try, and we teach computer science. So we've got some very clever IT students, and they have to develop their own software. So as part of that, they are writing code on our machines, and obviously we can then see what they're doing, what they're writing. Are they trying to be malicious? And I think it happens now and again. They try and execute just a curl command to make a little text parrot dance, which is just them being funny. But the SOC system picks that up and tells us that they've downloaded a bit of code.
Which I suppose in that instance isn't a problem, but it could be, right?
Yes, exactly. So, but they're functions we need to let students do to be able to learn those processes. So, yeah, it's good to have that visibility.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got one more of my own questions, but Peter's jumped in with a question for you, so I'll start with that one. Peter asked, did you migrate your on-prem service to a KHIPU service or another provider?
So we have actually migrated to Google Cloud Platforms, so completely independent of KHIPU, but all of our servers and services are still being monitored by the SOC service with the Cortex installed on all our virtual machines, and because we're VPN tunnel through to our GCP infrastructure, we've got the firewalls also being monitored.
Sure, great. Thank you. Thanks for that question, Peter. And so my last question was, Gareth gave us a really great overview of the journey as we sort of see it. And also you're on the board, you're on that journey. So my just last question: what advice would you give to other technical professionals in your field on starting their SOC journey?
Yeah, don't think it won't happen. It is a matter of when, and let's stop them. Get something out, get something working, and just protect yourselves as much as you can. I don't like to scaremonger like that, but it's a true fact.
No, I guess that's the mentality that you have to have, I suppose, and what's driven your sort of growth at Barton with the various gains that you've made.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything I've missed? I feel like we've done so much with you guys over the last couple of years that I feel like you've barely scratched the surface, but I'm just conscious that we've only got a few minutes left. So
yeah, I mean, having NOC and SOC together, so Network Operations Center as well, it has been a valuable service to me and my lean team. So yeah, absolutely, I can take a holiday and not worry, and take a break over Christmas, and things like that. It has been a game changer.
Amazing. Well, yeah, you need a rest, Charlie.
Oh yes.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we're pretty much bang on 11. I realise that we've not got a huge amount of time for networking, but we'll be hanging around for a few minutes if people do want to go back into the room, as it were, the virtual room, and join a table and have a chat with us. Please do. If not, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope the session's been insightful. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.